Hello, everybody. And today we joined with Benjamin and Gregory to mini proposal workshop 5 or 6 now. I think it's 6 now. In today's session, we will going through Benjamin's proposal. I haven't seen and know nothing about how big is the sizes. I'm gonna explain you the process. Maybe you haven't seen it before. So what is mini proposal process? It's about it's like scoping down one of big ideas and trying to make it into several pieces. However, even in case your proposal might be a big one and like ask, well, I don't know how much it asks actually. We can see right away. It's a 25,000 USD proposal. So technically that won't fit for the mini proposal, but there are methods what could improve the wording of some like proposal statements or giving more depth into solutions. Or there are like quite many details what usually community advisors ask. And if there is something you're missing from your proposal, where there could be a chapter what could just make it more stronger. So yeah, any questions so far from brief introduction again?
Nope.
What is the normal size of the funds that you're talking about for a mini proposal thing?
Yeah, usually it's about 3,000 ADA or dollars, so 1,000 ADA now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, look,
you can, yeah.
But the way it's technically it could be bigger, but yeah, to me, it's right now the sizes seem to be like 500 to 3,000, and it gives like a good like a vision how the plan is like going to be dealt with, how all this is structured, and community advisors usually don't have like any questions like what is missing, but more like is it impactful enough or not, and is it right. Is the person feasible or to do the tasks or not?
Yeah, and we may decide at the end of this that actually the proposal should be asked for funding much less than what it is at. That's why I wanted to kind of ask some questions and maybe kind of go through some thoughts with you here.
Is there any particular part you want to improve, or we should just start from the beginning?
Yeah, you can see that goal 1 and goal 2 are within the span of now to the end of this funding round, the purview of the funding round, or the funding, I should say, which is from now until January 31st, 2022. That's the end of the round. And then, of course, the new funding, you know, I guess the funding comes on the 28th of October, and then the end of that 3-month segment is 2022 and January 31st, correct? In goal 2, you see it covers goal 1 and goal 2 covers this time from now till the end of the funding, right? Running out.
To be honest, I don't remember when we get the funding.
Yeah, it's October 28th as far as Catalyst says, but I was looking that up yesterday. But anyways, that's why I'm just putting it there. But see, goal 2, see, this is a project. Goal 2 covers the beginning of it, which is when we're funded. There's a prototype of a software, just to keep it very brief. Goal 3 is the next 3-month segment, which is outside the purview of this funding round, but it's there because the whole thing is a year-long project, right? Goal 2 covers the first funding period of 3 months. Goal 3 covers the next 3 months, and goal 4 covers the next 6 months after that, which will be divided into 3-month segments later on in further proposals. But right now, I've just put it as one goal there of May 1st to October 27th, 2022, or thereabout. So there's just this year-long plan, But of course, the beginning is, it's odd because right now it's like today until October 27th, the day before funding happens. These are the things we're doing in goal 1. And then goal 2 covers the funded period if we are funded, as you can see. So I don't know if this is helpful or if the aspects of this, the goals that are outside of the purview of this actual funding should even be talked about. It's just that it's all a very big part of the same project, so it seems important to mention.
Yeah, for the bigger projects, like I see from this, I do believe the roadmap like this is important. However, it's kind of not clear to me how much of the requested funds is what goals it's going to be like facilitating. I guess you said in the text,
details are right at the budgetary details right there. 6,000 is for the team members, $1,000 a month per team member.
Okay, so it says that first 3 months is for the budget.
So the full budget that is needed for the software is $75,000. So 1/4 of that is 19,000.
Yeah.
If we divide it by 4, it's like $18,750. And we just put it at 19,000 because we spoke somebody in the industry and they said, yes, this is somewhere around 75,000 is a good estimate. And we didn't have a developer to come. It was like, we have to contract the developer after we're awarded funding. So we can't contract them until we have the funding for it. So that's why we're at this point. But you're saying it would be better to maybe put the budgetary, do you think it would be better to put the budgetary details
yes.
up farther up?
Yeah, I do. I think every goal should have its own budgets to make it understandable. And if you say like goal 3, then, and it's the goal itself is not just to produce finals and through tested version 1 software, but you also seem to have a goal to make a proposal to get more funding.
Yeah.
Because and that, I think this should be also written down to make people clear that this is a future plan, and maybe even have a section that out of scope from current proposal. I wonder,
okay,
like, if people read it from top to bottom, and I'm gonna read like, okay, goal 3 this year, goal 4 this year, and then at the end I have to now think of 3 months, and you don't say goals, you don't use the goals here. So I'm like, okay, what was 3 months again? And I scroll up, and then I try to do my monthly calculations on the finger, and so it's gonna be messy.
Instead of using the words goal, should I be using roadmap 1, roadmap 2, roadmap 3, just because it's more common language?
Yeah, what I tried, and maybe helps you, is like my 3 month goal. So you're just pretty clear with what you're doing.
Okay.
So my initial goals or mission, and then next steps, like, and next 3 months, next 6 months. However, yeah.
Should I replace 1-year plan with roadmap? Or is that good?
No, that's fine. 1-year plan.
Okay. So really it's about like making sure that there's a money amount associated with each goal period.
Yep. And say that this section will have a new proposal. This section, and so everybody is clear that what you are requesting from this proposal,
right,
is so. And even on the goal 1, I would suggest to write that this proposal is to fulfill qual 1 and 2, or you meant only qual 1?
Exactly, yeah.
So let's take some notes.
So yeah, if you want, we can go through it. It's just, but yeah, I thank you so much. Those are my sort of overall kind of questions.
Okay, what is this one for now? Which one is this? Budget to all costs.
Wow, thank you so much for this. It's very helpful.
And then what was more? Yes.
Writing, yeah.
Creation for each does not.
So under the goal, each time it will say a budgetary detail, and then it will also say, yeah, if goal 2 and goal 3 and 4 will talk about a new proposal being submitted for further funding.
Yeah.
And also talk about which budgetary amount will be needed for that round.
Yep.
And the reason why I say we may change the dollar figure is, do you think it's because we're not actually signed, we don't have an actual contractor yet, we've only talked to some, but we know their price, and it's like, oh, we need funding first before we can sign a contract with them? Because the only one we ended up talking with was a team that is contracted. They don't want to join anybody's proposals. They just work as like as a contractor. So they're not so much to be a team member. They're not looking to join the company, but rather to be contractors for us. So okay. I'm not quite sure how other people do it. I know that some people just have a developer on their team, and then that's easier, but it just seems like the extent of this is going to need a bit more. I don't know. Yeah,
it will be difficult. Just to clarify again, okay, it's written down here, but maybe you can answer me. Yes, in these 3 months, is it the qual 2 and 1 or only qual 1?
Goal 2 and goal 1 and goal 2 are both till the end of the funded period that we're asking for here. So goal 1, yeah. So goal 3 is the start of will be funding for a new round. The fund 6 will cover all the way up till the end of goal 2.
Why I took this, because do I see a budget breakdown here? No, you don't have anything like that?
I've only stated the budgetary details for this round, which is the 25,000. But yes, for the entire project, I can write in further details for that. And that's what you're saying, yeah? It's like maybe underneath the budgetary details, I could put an area for further the goal 3 and goal 4 and the funding needs for those.
Okay, so what I went to the chapter 4, so to give a bit more details to what are the roles there. Here are some examples, like maybe I should actually read first what is this about. Grants and grantees do not have an easy, reliable, secure platform for identify verification and grant management.
It should say identity verification. I apologize. I'll change that now.
Identity,
but it won't change on there.
Maybe I.
Oh yeah, for identity verification, it does say that. Yeah.
Ooh, that's okay.
So it's a software platform for grant management between a grantor and a grantee that will integrate Itala Prism and work within like U.S. Department of Education, U.S. Department of health, all of these different places where they're offering grants, and we're approaching these different places, one of which my teammate he works for. So anyway, that's what it is. It's a software for them to communicate back and forth with the grantees. And the grantee itself themselves will use Atala Prism to essentially.
Okay. Well, Georgie, what do you think about this problem statement?
Well, this is, I missed the transition to this, but I had the problem in the other one. Okay, what is your problem statement? Is that grantors and grantees? So this is you're addressing the actual catalyst system, right? Is that what you're doing?
No, this has nothing to do with Catalyst. This has to do with like the US Department of Health. They offer grants to people. Like you might say, there's too many people in my area that are sick and don't have medication. I want to start a nonprofit organization in my city to help these people. So then you go to the US Department of Health, you write a grant, they give it to you, and now there's a management system between them. This has nothing to do with the Treasury in Catalyst. I'm glad you're clarifying that. But it has to do with grants anywhere in the world. It could be private entities giving the grants. It could be businesses or governments. I'm using the US Department of Health as one example here, who is somebody who would use this software to help kind of communication between the grantee and the grantor.
Yep, okay.
The relationship, as stated further down, is about between 1 and 5 years per grantee. So there has to be a full system for communication back and forth and record keeping and everything else.
Well, with this, okay, now you're assuming, okay, you're selecting that as the problem. There's other elements in there that are actually for the problem, like, okay, what grants are there's a lot of other information that you'd want to know ahead of time. You're assuming and I'm speaking out of place because I'm really just observing this environment, to see how you do this, but
yeah,
the actual identifying what the real sources of the problems are. Like you said, as your example, that there's grant money available, but nobody knows that it's available for something in their community. Is that like an example of something you were saying about what the problem was?
No, not at all. The only problem is only problem we're trying to address is what it says in the problem statement. Grantees and grantors do not have an easy, reliable, and secure platform for identification, verification, and grant management. That's the only problem we're trying to solve for. It's very explicit in that statement.
Okay.
We're not trying to solve for anything else.
All right. I'd have to read more of what the problem is.
Yeah, the expanded problem is right there. The application process is the first step that a potential grantee takes when seeking funding from a government organization or private entity. Though in many cases formalized, this process often lacks reliability and security in obtaining identification documents. Further, after being awarded, grantors are then responsible for tracking sensitive data in diverse categories related to the funding of each grantee, a relationship often extending 1 to 5 years. So we aim to create a software platform is the solution.
Yeah, I'm just rereading it.
Yes, please.
Do you, let's see.
While you're reading, one thing what bothers me is the sorry, the bulkiness of the problem statement. I would like to try to find the root cause of the problem, because right now you're like this is a problem, and it's in the case of a this. So you're like making a mesh of what are we now trying to solve? Like, is it like is the first problem, like question in my head? And
there's a platform. There's a bad platform for identification verification, and we're trying to make a good one. I don't know how else.
Have you looked into the one that they're using now, and can you identify what is actually wrong with it? Because lots of times, like just for example,
Yes, it's not easy, reliable, or secure. We have definitely looked into it. That is why it says they're not easy, reliable, or secure.
have you approached them on how long until they could look at, because it's tough because you'd proposing a new system for them. Contractually and sometimes by law, they're just stuck to having to do this stuff in a horrible way. Is that, have you looked into which department in HHS and all of that stuff is managing this particular problem area that you're looking at?
Yes, my partner Nigatare Valence has been in the Department of Education as a grants manager for the last 12 years. So he has done a lot of research into this, as well as there are a lot of private entities and public organizations, like just different companies that run their own grant systems, and they all do not have they're not contractually bound to their system. So even if there is an issue getting into government systems, which it doesn't seem like there will be, there are many hundreds of other places that we can go, and perhaps thousands, but I'll say hundreds because that's what we know, that we can approach with this system. And also, more importantly, is actually talking to grantees and bringing them on board into Atala Prism, and then approaching the grantors and saying, hey, we have grantees, people who are looking for these type of funds, and their information is loaded in Atala Prism. We have a software solution for this, onboarding these clients. Yeah, so this is so far what we have. The missing, I think where I feel like we could use some more development is just understanding more of what that will look like, but we have to get with an actual developer and actually team with them to be able to flush that out.
In the proposals, and this is kind of a question back to like Tevo, is that, I mean, some of these things that we're just chatting about, like this info that was obvious in there, to be able to include that in the proposal writing in somehow. Because normally when I do a problem statement, opportunity statement that leads into my umbrella questions that determine, that lead into what my objectives are. Is that, because not having a chance to really, look through see these proposals, it's really just that one page that you have that these people, the community advisor people are going to vote on, and all of that stuff is just
Right.
that one page of info.
yes.
Okay. So you like putting in that stuff, justifying your case, how much proof and that additional background, like saying we've already looked into some of the other things these questions we asked. I don't know if that's in the proposal now or anything.
Not all of it is, no. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking as I was telling you the details, I was like, oh, I don't have that written anywhere yet.
Right. In terms of telling a story, in a shorter, more focused thing, here's the problem because of A, B, C, D. We've noted these in our secondary research, that, hey, this, 47% doesn't get dispersed because of failure to meet deadlines or something like that, extrapolating from statistical data. Just from a habit, sometimes that comes into play to help pitch your case, to prove that that this is a valid problem in a real world application that's documented. And it's easy for a lot of the engineering, the computer people to, that are systems type people, they say, well, here's a system flaw. And you guys understand that. However, other people reading it won't. But that's just yammering on some of it.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's helpful. very helpful. I appreciate it.
Those types of things. Yeah.
Would it maybe be easier in terms of the problem statement if I flipped it around to say, instead of platform, just, it's like you have so many words, right? But if the first thing is that the software platforms used for grants have these three issues: ease, reliability, and security.
Let's try something what I usually do with people, where I try to go with the asking why. So I created the question: why is it the problem that grantors and grantees do not have an easy platform for great verification managers?
So grantors and grantees do not have an easy reliable. Okay, why is it a problem?
Yes.
Kind of, we'll couch it this way as, for me, because I come from a different disciplines and stuff than this, but focusing on this is turn it into more of a human-centric thing. How does this, what sucks about somebody's life because of what's happening now, and how would you make their life better? Word it that way, because you can drive it. The big three of what you see there is the solution, but you got to define what the actual problem is. Saying those three things only matters to an engineer type guy or a computer programmer looks at it that way. The people that you're trying to help will not get that at all.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
not their thing.
So Gregory, actually this asking why does lead you to what you just said. To more simplistic, more human-centric answer. So perhaps let's try it and get somewhere with this. Let's take some notes. So why is it the problem that grantors and grantees do not have an easy platform for verification management?
Yep.
Because it makes the process more complicated for grantees and less likely that these usually, I guess from my understanding, it's like there's a lot of money to be given out, and one of the things that stops these funds from being able to be accessible publicly is the sort of burden of the system that onboards and also the application process itself.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think about, so one of the things that these departments don't have is an actual marketing team. There's no marketing for grants, right? That's just not part of how they work. And so the issue there is that when people do come in, they're usually somebody that has a connection with somebody that knows about grants, and it's like, and the process of getting the grant itself is never oftentimes not made to be more easy or user-friendly because there's not money in the budget for this.
Right, let's ID what those barriers are. Okay, so some of it, like when you start to get into marketing stuff, it's like, okay, there's what are the types of problems based on things that people don't know what they're supposed to do versus the ones that they know and can't do. So start with a little, what are the barriers that are the things that because people just don't know exist or they have no way of knowing. And these are just whiteboarding out lists and stuff.
Right. People don't realize that the information is actually not as secure as you think. And so one of the things we're trying to do with Atala Prism information on Atala Prism is to actually work with a third-party verifier who could actually look at this information, because oftentimes the grantee, the grantors giving the loan is or the grants are not. They don't necessarily need to know what the social security number is for this person. They just need to know that they have one and that it's legit, or that they have this type of license or this type of qualifications or credentials. They just need to know if they have it or not. And so rather than putting this information to them so that they have access to it, and they save it in their system, which could be leaked or something like that in the future, or what have you, in terms of security. Grantees and grantors don't have to worry about this, because this system that we are talking about creating would be able to work with third-party verification, where they only see it one time, this qualifications, and they're just checking a box. And then they give that to the grantor to say, yes, they have a current license. Yes, they're a US citizen. Yes, they have this qualification that allows them to be let's say, an expert at these things that they're saying that they're an expert at. So this is part of our system as well. And I don't know exactly how that gets put into little boxes, but I'm just mentioning it. It seems helpful.
It does bring up actually the point that you're taking a lot of several problems now, like, because they're kind of related, but they're not related. I don't know, how would I say? So I will try.
Well, it's all related to making a secure platform. The secure platform, if you want the details of that, it's everything I just said. Right now it isn't as secure as it could be, and these are the reasons, and all of this. But
so the solution, is a secure platform. But
right.
So, okay, I did put some few of the notes down to go other way, so we can try to figure out why we need a secure platform and etc. But now, just to go down through your initial problem statement and to find a more route for that, there is a lot of money to be given, but the funds are hard to give because of burden of process was the reason. And now if you change it to problem statement, what would the problem be?
Because then your problem statement would change to being, how do I get more money into the hands of more people that need it? Is a better problem statement. And then you come up with your solution of a secure way to speed up the process that's efficient and things like that.
Gregory, can you repeat the problem statement that you just said from this?
Because just kind of roughing through, now you can do this more, but the problem statement would be, how do we, based on what we've said, and this would be, how do we get more grantors' money into the hands of grantees faster, or more money faster? Yeah, because that'll split into two, but how do we get more grantor money into the hands of grantees? And you can word that, there's wordsmithing and stuff on that, but
yeah, for sure.
But that's another way to look at defining a better problem. Because now you're getting more to like the people's problem, because that's the real problem. Relative to the real world, our solutions and stuff, they're never going to give a damn about those things that are like the passion to do this. So that, just like you're saying, let's quit passing around everyone's social security number, and let's just have it in one centralized thing where it's verified yay or nay. You want to, all of the benefits, yada, yada. That's cool. But that's not what is important to anybody other than this community that codes this stuff.
Sure.
And it'll help to come up with ways to sell what you're trying to do, because selling it this way, you guys are still selling the invention instead of the innovation. And that's an inside baseball statement, but that's what's happening right here. It needs to be, you got to sell the innovation, not the invention. How does it make someone's life better? And you tell that story, not the story of the code.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually originally took this earlier iteration of this, which was all very much technical jargon, and then I rewrote it into what we're presently seeing. So that's kind of, we're kind
Do
of
the
like
same
halfway
thing.
along the road. So that's where we've come from, just so you know. That's kind of to kind of
Go
validate
ahead.
even more what you're saying is like, yeah,
Do
it's
another iteration of it too, like to the point where you're almost, you know, Jane showed up at work at 8:30 and she,
Yep.
you know, spilled her coffee this morning, sat down at her desk and had to pick up where somewhere and find that pain, those pain points
Right.
that in this process, and then write like, you know, that's going to quickly resonate. Here's what sucks. And shit, you're right. By using a new system that alleviates this whole, you know, however, whatever it is, then that's your, you know, proposed solution path.
Okay, so yeah, what I do is, like you said, iteration going down the path. So we have the new problem statement. That is not an easy process to give funds to people. But now the question would be, why is it the problem that there is not an easy process to give funds to people? What could be, would that lead?
Yeah, what are the barriers? And that's where you'd almost go through like the case study of studying each, you know, of what are the steps that the grantors, let's say, when they say, you know, they have this chunk of money, they put out the official RFP or what, however they're doing it, or request for papers or whatever, and they announce they have this. What are the things that they, how many screens do they have to enter data in, and how often are they checking per each thing? How much time is spent doing it, and where is information getting lost, or where the, you know, you can kind of set yourself up for your solution, which you're not supposed to, but it's in the real world, it's what it is. You kind of have a solution beforehand a little bit. You don't want to have it too much, because then you're going to miss stuff. You can lead to it. What are those real world daily problems that they face that cause the poorer performance? You know, like if we go back to, is really the problem that there's more grant money that's not getting into the hands of people who want it and can do something with it?
right.
You know, you can question also that if you want. I wouldn't worry about it for this, that is this the best way to fund, to use this money? You know, I maybe it's better to form a professional think tank than just throwing these things out here to the general public all the time, and then letting scam little, you know, government contractors hoard most of it through kickbacks and stuff. Yeah, I've done probably about $25-30 million worth of with HHS alone, just as a thing, developing public facing and internal intranet based business process things.
Yeah.
And, you know, just the experience with working with federal gov, well, all of them, but federal gov being the worst, is just horrific on these things. You know, because selling this to governments is a reasonable thing. That's another thing that I always put in when I'm doing like these proposally type things. You know, I also intend, you know, who am I doing this for? You know, who is the audience?
Right.
And how am I going to have, do I envision this at the end? Like, do I envision owning server farms to do this, or is it how do I, you know, it's not going straight to like, okay, what are the revenue streams on it? But it's kind of the same. It's like, how is this going to physically exist? You know, and yeah, you can't really know everything, but you can you can give a picture of that, and that should mesh with how it solves your problem. Because it helps come up with better ideas. Because the same thing is, okay, I designed this system and I just redo the same bad processes now in a more secure way. I've spent all this and I've only made a 4% grand improvement on year over year of our base problem statement of improving the amount of cash that went out. That's probably not a big enough return on investment, and we've lost an opportunity to do something a little more, a little better, by not just limiting ourselves in our proposed response, our solution, by not identifying the problem at the right scale. You never get it perfect, but you try and get them as close as possible. The scale of work to the scale of problem is often left out. And a lot of people say, well, it's just a little model of this thing. Well, I mean, scalability's got its own damn category now for things that go wrong and stuff. You want to assess the level of the problem to the level of the solution, and kind of addressing that, even in a simple sentence, helps too. Because that might not be the problem. The problem might be more of it might be more of an education problem than a tech problem. Which doesn't mean that what you're doing wouldn't be this, that's the vehicle, but what you're using it, how you're using it, and what you design it as would be part of the solution too. Better defining on the problem is important. Doing more of that and getting down to the point of, okay, a grant from a grantor's, just their day of interacting to get this money. Write out that little story, and you can edit it over and over and pass that around, till you build a nice little story of how someone's day started and how it to the point where it ended, the things they needed to do from the grantor and the grantee. And then you can identify a narrative that explains your problem that'll resonate with people. You can do that stuff's gonna ring the way it needs to ring. But okay,
so Gregory just gave you quite a quick run through almost half of the mini proposal process. He explained right now experience and flowcharts, and then he went defining successes. However, what I would like to do right now is to finalize the problem statement, which is from that discussion, what I've heard, why is it a problem that there is not an easy process to give funds to people? Two main concerns were that granted money might get into wrong hands because it's too complicated and some tick boxes are in wrong places, or granting money takes a lot of time. So they spend a lot of time and the data might get lost, or just too many screens, errors. And so what would your pain point would most likely be, Benjamin? Would it be more about that it takes a lot of time, or it's more about it might go to the wrong hands?
I mean, I'm a little bit confused. It's like, I don't know how much energy we should be putting into selling it in terms of how it's reading, or if we're actually solving the problem in terms of the words that are in the proposal. Because this is just like, we're in a proposal to figure out how to learn to use a Prism for and get it mass adopted. Like that's the whole, that's the beginning of the brief, right? Anyway, so we're talking about like mass adoption of a Prism. So but then you're saying make it more readable so that somebody just, kind of flipping through the voting app is going to see it, read this headline and go, oh, I want to read more of it, right? Like, is that what you're kind of getting at? I'm trying to make it translate into that, because I mean, and just kind of keep the mass adoption of a Prism as like less of a need for the reader or something. I
don't mean to frustrate you or confuse it, because I'm.
Oh, no. You guys are helping me greatly. I'm just letting you know, like, this is kind of what I'm trying, the two sort of worlds I'm kind of mixing up here now as I'm trying to answer.
And we are mixing two worlds, and that's absolutely correct. Tevo's the one to guide you on specifically for this, for this particular instance. His input's the most important. Me is, I'm looking more strategically in how this whole thing is and seeing what people do.
I'll say the top one then.
Okay. But you were right. You have to address a challenge brief. but you can kind of do it, because right now, if you choose like granted money goes into wrong hands, so then in the solution statement and in the detailed plan, you actually bring in the data risk that, hey, if you have the identity, then you know that whoever used, you have the credentials on the identity, you can prove that these specific things, but that's already on a solution side. Right now, we want to call in people with the problem, because that's the first thing they kind of see. Okay, is it the problem enough? Like, money goes to the wrong place, and I don't want to go that money goes into wrong hands. So they're gonna look into the solution, and the solution provides a platform. I think platform is fine, and so like, okay, it's something big, or I'm ready now. Let's see what is into it, and then they go into the detailed plan, which is.
It's not even so much the grant money goes into the wrong hands, though, to be honest. I think it's more like the concern is that the data that, and I know you guys don't like these words, but it's like the data, it needs to be a more secure system for the data. And I don't know how to translate that. It's not that the money is getting into the wrong hands. It's like the data it can and does get leaked all the time. Like these different departments in the government, these different companies. I mean, I just had Target give out all my information in a data leak, in a hack, So like all of these things are the more concern, but I don't know how to translate that into what you're saying, because I'm thinking, I don't know if it's accurate that money is getting into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, security is really then, I mean, because if from a security voicing thing and to go to it, that's the strongest way to do it then.
So maybe like people's identity is being stolen. Like, I mean, I'm trying to get it down to the basics of what you guys are saying, like what somebody flipping through these might want to feel like, oh, wow, that actually could help, So maybe could it be something like people's information has a greater and greater potential of getting into the wrong hands every day. I don't know. I don't think that's specific enough, right? Like, I really love this exercise. I'm just trying to figure out how it would work.
It could be though, but
so what we could do is take and that what you at the start said, information is not secure, and do the same process we just had on top, do it for the security. Because if you now feel like, okay, these things, because they are the root cause of what you kind of wrote down, we went to this path. But these were something you explained why you were explaining that stuff. So everything, if you root cause everything out, basically, you will get the mind map of what is most important.
Right. So information is not secure. Why is information? What is it?
Push the button.
Who was today?
Is
Everybody.
Is it a 45 minutes?
You guys interrupted me.
Oh no!
Nice.
What happened? Is that what happened?
Nice.
It's a great
Oh,
experiment.
This is awesome.
Oh
I love
no!
it.
It
On
wasn't me.
Townhall is the
I
same.
wasted time talking, damn it.
I opened all rooms.
I think
At least I have co-host power too.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
So,
Welcome.
but hello, Ante.
Oh yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Share screen. Gonna go back to the Mojo. Somebody just pressed. One of the hosts left like, I'm gonna end it for all.
Secure. So the information, why is it important that the information is secure? Now I've got it. This makes much more sense for me. Okay, why is it important that information is secure so that identity theft is not taking place, so that people are not losing their identity or having it stolen and having to spend hours or weeks with a headache over trying to call and get a new card number and whatever. It's like these things, right? Like that's now I'm feeling what you guys are saying, because I think this is a better route, I think. So that identity theft does not take place. Why do we? So then the next question is, why do you not want identity theft to take place, or what is it?
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So why do you not want identity theft to take place? Because it is a headache to solve the problem. Because the stress and anxiety, the headache, that comes from having to establish your identity again, or to find the criminal, the difficulties being on the phone for hours on hold, these kind of things.
Yeah. And when you end up writing the smaller ones, it's good to do these exercises because then it becomes clearer. And then you can pull out the 1 or 2 sentences. You don't have to overdo it on the touchy-feely, but you've got it. And it's an easier way when you're talking and trying to pitch it to somebody to have it from that, to have that already.
Okay.
It makes you a much stronger presenter, and you do better at presenting your case.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking of the success of our proposal so far based on what it was at where it was when I began, and it's not at all. Like the success is the readability of the community, right, for the community, and the identity to the community of the problems. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. It's really helpful. I think, yeah, the root problem was not the right one before, and I think that's where I was getting stuck. This is good. Okay.
So actually, there was one step we missed.
Okay.
So that identity theft does not take place is an answer, but when we want to turn it into problem statement, because we always want to get the problem statement of it. So I added something like identity theft can take place if bad processes are used. So it goes back to your platform you're trying to improve, or maybe there should be something else. If not, then
if bad platform is used, yeah, I mean that's the point, is that the security of the platform is bad. So if an unsecure platform or bad platform, yeah, either way, that's actually probably good right there. Why don't you want identity theft to take place? It's very difficult to solve problem. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you already answered that. So because it's just a slightly different.
So then we need to put this into a new problem, right? That's what you're saying?
So yeah, now this solution into problem statement.
Okay, the problem statement would be, okay, it is very difficult to solve and prove identity issues later on. So the problem statement would be solve and prove identity issues later on. So,
actually, this is already problem statement before.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you want identity theft to take place? And I think we're reverting in terms of the language. Maybe we can say, like, why do you not want identity theft to take place? And the answer would be because it is stressful and difficult and takes a long time, instead of it is very difficult to solve and prove identity.
But
right. But does it need to have something about grantor grantee kind of language in it, or just leave that out?
I would leave that out. Like, why? Like,
okay, yeah. So in the statement itself, it can say, hey, the industry we're trying to look at is grantors, grantees. But the problem in the problem statement is, like, it's very stressful to reestablish a secure identity when it's been stolen.
Yes.
Stolen and perhaps sold on the dark web. I don't know, whatever. It's like, what do you want to, what pain points, that's the thing, is like, if you can imagine, I'm thinking in terms of pain. It's like, if I imagine, because I have had it happen to me where I've filled something out and then sent it in and then realized it was the exact looking document I was supposed to send in, but it was actually to a hacker. And then I found the original one and it was actually looking the exact same on some, this happened like 5 or 6 years ago. And I sent in all sorts of identity information to somebody who was nefarious. And I remember this feeling of just being like, oh my God, like, this could be on the open market right now. My identity, my card numbers, all of this, like, just thinking how many hundreds of people may have this available now. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, just trying to put into perspective a pain point there, or just put into, it is stressful to reestablish a stolen identity. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, but now when we describe your solution to the problem, build a grant management soft fund integrating Atalabris that serves an intuitive portal between parties in all phases of grant process. So what do you mean about grants now? Do you mean actual money, or you mean access, like or the like security token that this is you?
Nope, we're talking about grant means an allotment of money, and that's why grantor and grantee are defined there, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. At the very beginning, there's a definition under the detailed plan. But I hear what you're saying, and it's funny because, you know, I thought the same thing when I originally heard about this, and Nigatara was mentioning it to me. I thought, is he talking about? Actually, I thought he was talking about grants from Catalyst, and or monies from Catalyst, and I thought he was just calling them grants, and I was like, you know, so that's why I just defined grantor and grantee at the beginning of the proposal, because it is hard for, I don't know, but then our friend Gregory, he also said, he's like, you know, is this talking about Catalyst? You know?
Well, yeah, perhaps because it's.
I think that's indicative of a public person reading it and then maybe not understanding right away. It's indicative of any other reader, right? Like the possibility.
Yeah, probably he didn't know about the challenge itself, and he.
Oh, sure. That's true. Yeah, I didn't
possible.
talk about. That's right.
Okay, but the funny thing is that the solution doesn't actually answer the problem anymore. So you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So the problem would then be to build a system for specifically for grants management that secures identity, so that it integrating Atala Prism so that you know, stolen identity is no longer an issue or something like this, right? Like
yes.
Problem statement is more about it is stressful to reestablish a stolen identity. Then the relevant the solution then would be something like
if you want,
yeah,
there is on a second chapter you can start writing solutions, so all the brainstorming can be taken here.
Great.
But yeah, I might have to copy paste your current solution.
So okay, thank you, that's helpful. Yeah. And then I'm just going to write on a post-it here. Is it, if it's.
So this is your current problem resolution. But yes, I think brainstorming solution right now will take quite some time, but I do encourage you to finish this one up. So because I can see you are on fire right now.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, it's, gee, I said it earlier, and then it's like, I just want to actually, maybe I'm going to put it over here so I can just see what our problem statement is. So I'll move it over to the second one in just a moment. It is stressful to reestablish a stolen identity. So,
build identity management software integrating Atala Prism that serves an intuitive portal between parties in all phases of the identity process. So I did just change the grant into identity, and that's kind of.
It's all good, yeah. It's stressful to reestablish a stolen identity. We will build a we will, oh, okay, yes. By integrating Atala Prism into grant management software, into where identity will no longer, I'm just trying to look at that other statement so I can be at risk. Something like that, right? That solves that, right? By integrating Atala Prism into grant management software, identity will no longer be at risk. I'm just, yes, I was just, thank you. All right. It's so funny working on this. It's like, hey, that's my note. Thank you so much. Oh, you're saying maybe enough to just change grant to identity?
No, I think rewording would be much easier, but like better, but I'm being lazy. So that would help. Okay,
yep.
so yeah, why I did came back to this problem statement was because it did find clunky, and where we actually I wanted to start this session because I saw no budget planning for you. In the chapter 4, there is like team roles, and I have some examples like there were product developer, product designer, community manager, project manager, and you have to kind of come up with more of these roles and like put them like, because all of these you would need on this project. So if you like create these kinds of task lists and give them a reason and one example task, then you will find yourself like getting closer to actually planning a budget for this proposal, instead of saying I need, what you said here was 40,000 estimators for first 3 months for software development, and that's it. Like basically that's your budget, and this doesn't say awful lot. So what would the product? So if you were creating a like enterprise software like platform, like that's why you need product developer. So why you need the product? Somehow somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. So why?
Because we don't, because software needs to be made, right?
Yes.
Because someone needs to make the software or
coordinate software features. Example, going back to the solution where identity security authentication token minting process. Make sure identity authentication token minting process does not is compatible with user login access. So I'm just shooting random stuff up, but basically you will kind of have to know what you're doing. So this kind of clarifies what that person would do, because the product developer, they're kind of like high level, they don't really care about coding, and they're like looking these modular pieces. So that's why the task itself is like kind of very odd. A community manager would be somebody who talks with I don't know how do you call this, like people how to call the grantee or
grantees. Yeah, the community manager or the user manager is what we're using, but yeah, we'll use community manager. And this is somebody who is kind of onboarding grantees who are looking for grants from one of many different, it doesn't really matter for most grantees where they get the money from, they're just looking for it. And so we're creating a solution that can onboard grantees, and then we can bring them to the grantors because we know about how to get them there, and then say essentially, hey, we have 25 grantees, but they're onboarded onto our software, and we would like to, work with you to, use this platform for this. And then as they say, oh, okay, wow, you have this many grantees. We would be very interested. Yes, we'd love to use your platform to onboard these grantees and work with your system and see how it works for us,
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the, so that's the role there.
So product designer.
Well, the community man, okay, I don't know.
So later, the more you kind of like think of it, the more detail you finally kind of get. But right now, it's just one example of everything. Will give quite a good perspective of overall activities. And when you count in like, we will get to that. So let's let's do this. Maybe okay. Actually, good point. That since I'm kind of already killing my time. I'm gonna wait for you to finish this. User manager onboards new grantees. I think I wrote it on as a community manager.
You didn't say anything about bringing new clients on, and then
looking for users to platform is kind of the same thing.
I see. Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, you can change your like name because this is to me
yeah,
the community or okay, so yeah, change it. So whoever likes it. If it skips several chapters, just to show you the process, how would you get the good or somewhat good budget, is now on not here yet. In chapter 10. So in chapter 10, if you now, it's basically the same things, example tasks. What I usually do is I create here, I copy paste the old one, I add these things in this table. It's like hours, estimated hours, then total hours, and deadline could be skipped or put outside. So, and now if you were like estimating hours, you could say like product developer, how often he has to be there. So is it like a full-time job? If it is, then you're gonna say 40 hours a week or something like that. But if it's something, okay, it doesn't really need to be there every day, every hour, and let's say every day, 1 hour, he has to make sure that all these features are working or are on their works. So that would give only like 5 hours per week. And then you already had the deadlines on the left side as the roadmap. So you kind of know that, okay, there are like 3 months, and then you calculate 12 weeks times 5 is 16 hours of work for this particular person. And then you have this user manager who he will probably have more tasks. So it is always good to give like more rows. So like it can be exported to CSV. Actually, all this could be done more effectively probably on Excel, but I just right now I'm doing it on Miro because
this is very helpful.
It's more workshopy. So looking for use to platform, but it's also, well, that's why I don't usually use user manager, but community manager, because they also talk with members in a team. So they onboard the new people who could give grants to also the platform. Hey, you are looking for somewhere to invest or help out the donations, then and then you have like another example. And that, so, and why do you want these tasks to be different? Because getting new grants or new people, it might be quite a big job. Like you create user forms. Well, if again, now when you think about creating user form, that's already content manager job. So there is no content manager here, but so there would be already a new role. And this is how you kind of pull out your like this stuff and say, okay, content like making user guide and the user forms might take like 4 hours, and that could be like one-time task, but perhaps like world changes, you get updates, you get feedback. So every month you do a new user form. And if you have like 3 months again, then you have total 12 hours of user forms. But yeah, so where was I in here? Looking. Oh wait, too much. So helps to guide new ideas to fill forms and get grants. That would be, I don't know, perhaps 2 hours per day to like find people on Reddit, like using different platforms, sending messages out, getting feedback, and then sending them links, or perhaps even getting some kind of live chats. Hours per day. That will be 10 hours per week. And that will be 100 hours. And yeah, so at the end of this process, you will have more idea of how many hours all of this stuff, because project management is actually quite a big task. You might underestimate how much actually a platform takes, because you have so many people. And if you have, even if you have like so many rows, like hundreds of rows, it doesn't mean that you need hundreds of people. One person can do, of course, several rows.
This one is 30 hours a week. This one is 10 hours a week. Okay. You know, there's 40 hours a week for one person or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. That's really helpful.
And then you put your average time, and then you finally get your calculation. So yeah, this was like a quick and dirty way to show you how would a budget calculation would work. And I do encourage you to do like a high level budget breakdown, because this, what you have there, is a bit way too high level. Like just saying, where was it, like 19,000 is like, this is.
Well, there's a lot of details, but I don't know how much people want to read through. So I'm just being, it's like the software and the work that's going into that is going to cost this much.
Yeah.
I just put the total.
I do understand, but I mean, they're probably.
You want a breakdown though.
I think people will want to have a breakdown like this. This is not good an example. And the detail what you have is a lot about roadmap, which we and very little about expanding on the problem and the solution, and that's pretty much it. So not to say that your proposal is bad, but in my eyes, it is missing a lot of pieces, and especially considering it's not like a small thing you want to do. You really want to build something big, which either you have a lot of reputation to get this funded, but if you want an average voter or a community advisor to understand this, he's gonna give you a lot of feedback, which is not really about how could you improve it even further, but he just gonna probably copy paste some guides from the community advisor guide or from proposal guide and just say, hey, you missed this point or you missed this point.
Yeah.
And this mini proposal process, it does kind of help you get some kind of information out and to get all this initial feedback. But it's also not perfect for this kind of proposals, because I already tried it on my own too, where my budget went pretty much operational budget was also $30,000. And from my perspective, when I read my own proposal, I was like, God damn it, it's missing so much. Like I will have to even break it down to 4 different proposals or make it like 6 times bigger. Well, but the time is like, I don't have the time.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, all right. Well, then I can just do what I can do with these within the purview of this Miro board, and then I will maybe just continue on with this. Is this just going to stay in this room, in this Miro room?
Yes.
And then I'll just continue to work on it here, or I can even just copy and paste it into another one, or no, I don't think I can. Anyway, yeah.
You technically you can accept the locked one, so you wouldn't get your own proposal and the background, but
yeah,
you can. I can right now I think it's instead of making new stuff, it would be easier to just a bit of continue the rolling and the management, so you get a high level breakdown for the team, and then put this into the proposal. And after every chapter you do, and you're not like too exhausted yet, then you can take another chapter. You feel like, oh, that could help. I suggest to do, once you get the like high level budget breakdown, I would suggest to do this where it is the chapter 9. Experience flowchart. So that was what also George kind of mentioned.
Just a second, real quick. Sorry, what's that? I'm looking now.
The chapter 9. So
yep.
In here, it will give like a pathway for the users, like when they join to the platform, what they see, why, like how they find out about the platform, why they like how they enter it, what they do on the platform. How they exit it and what they get out of it. And if you go through this, then this you can take like straightforward into proposal, whatever you wrote, if you write the process down here. And if you put it on like top of the proposal, or like not top of, but like upper part before your roadmap, then it gives a clear picture of how this solution, what you're providing, feels like, works like.
Right. Wow, man, this is really a great system for kind of thinking this through. I am very appreciative. I also am kind of just thinking like, we do have all these details, and it's like, my partner is writing a white paper right now for kind of the conceptual framework of it. And I feel like a lot of the information he has there it's not going to be done by tonight. That's the thing. I just joined this team like this last weekend, and he was actually Friday, and then he was out of town most of the weekend. So I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
And it's the last second. So at least we're just going to try to see it, and we'll just learn from it, if anything. And in the future, maybe our proposal, if it doesn't get funded, is a good example for people to say, oh, there could have been more detailed here or there. But I am going to go through this and do as much as I can and then add it to the proposal tonight. We'll see what we can get through, and hopefully, you know, I think it will be greatly improved by this process, and I appreciate it a lot. At the very least, I think people will start opening it and reading it more because of the title will be different, the problem and the solution. Now that I've kind of have this sort of ideology, and I will go through the rest of this as best as I can in the time I have, which is not a ton, but it's enough to do something. If there is one area you would say, or maybe 2 or 3 areas you would say, make sure to focus on this, what would it be? I'm just saying my time has some limits today, so I'm trying to figure out which.
Yeah,
I mean, all of these essentially should be done, but I'm trying to figure.
Yeah,
Yep.
For me, the chapter 10 and chapter 9, I think they're reachable, like in under an hour, and
yeah,
and worthy to. Like, because if you take notes from both of these, they are easy to format into the proposals, where in other cases, you might get ideas out and ideation out, but then the formatting is like another complicated thing.
Well, I'm a writer and I'm pretty good at formatting things, but so I might touch some of them, but I definitely hear what you're saying. 9 and 10 will be a lot easier to put in, and they're also very important. It looks like team roles are kind of informing. Number 4 is good to do in the background, and then 9 is informed by 4.
Yeah, so the number 4 is usually you can do the 10, and that's enough
10,
because it's the same thing, but I usually have the chapter 4 at the beginning, because once you have the problem and solution, you when the gun get the gist of who do you need, but not go into too detail, and then it's easier to like follow through with the rest of the proposal and then finish up with the budgeting, with the detailing.
Yep.
But yeah, like things might change. So you just got a glimpse of a process, and they usually don't. Yeah, I don't know. This is it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's maybe actually, like, I'm okay with whatever it is, but it's like, I'm wondering if we step back at this point and look at this and go, wait, is this better to be like a actual, no, I guess I was thinking like if we scale it back and go, okay, what if we're just trying to take this proposal to use to make a much smaller proposal, in a sense? Like, what if this is like a, $3,000 to $5,000 proposal that's really just asking for, really it would be a period of ideation, which maybe is just something we need to do before Fund 7, and we don't even write a proposal for it, and then we just get more information on some of these things.
Yeah, but then you were throwing all that work out, what you already had done. But
I mean, it's helpful. I think it's going to be good to just submit it and let it be part of the growth of the community. I mean, even if it's not funded, was what I'm saying, like, it still goes into the log of what the past proposals have been, so people can see it. And it's I've done that myself. I've read proposals that passed, proposals that didn't pass, and it helped me to kind of understand, oh, wow, this writing is better because of this, and this writing was too technical, I think, for the average user. So they didn't even get through it to read. So it didn't pass, is maybe one of the reasons, So I think it's helpful to add to the community, if anything.
Yeah.
I'm saying worst case scenario, you know what I mean? So, but I also think maybe we have a shot if we do kind of, make use of this sort of changing the problem and solution statements, and really kind of defining a bit more of a lot more in terms of the finances, breaking it down in the proposal itself. There's so much here that's possible. What is this guide you're talking about, the proposal guide?
Proposal guide where
I thought you were saying that there was some sort of proposal guide, a Catalyst proposal guide. I don't know. You mentioned some sort of guide. I don't know.
So I think that is, let me check. I'm gonna have no effect. Don't even try.
Because you said that the CA might look at it and give us copy and paste parts of the CA handbook or the proposer guide or something you said.
Ooh, proposal writing guide. I meant the official one.
Yeah, I didn't know there was one. It's
So
like,
I'm gonna also link that in the Miro board.
oh, great, thank you.
So next to your proposal at the start. I assume you are on the Miro board, right?
I am, yep. I'm just trying to go over to it. Oh, you just put it right there.
Yeah. So this is the original one. What community or like Catalyst team has done. But there are several community versions too. So they have a lot of resources where they can like finger through this. Okay, check. Nope. And the kind of work is done.
Right.
But okay, stop sharing screen. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for all the assistance here. This is really helpful. I wish I would have had a smaller proposal to give you, so it was a little more useful in terms of this board and what you created it for. But thank you for taking on the challenge anyway. Really do appreciate it.